Hello everybody, this is Mr. Regener, and this is how to convert fractions, decimals, and percents. We're in line here for some fun, and this is like Inception. You can see me back here. That's fun. Okay, so anyway, we want to talk about converting decimals, fractions, and percents because that's a big part of what we're doing for Unit 8. So I've got an example here, and I've got a marker, and we want to convert some percents into decimals. And actually this is easier to do than you may think. All we have to do is remember that we're going to be moving our decimals each time that we convert. So in this percentage, 13.1%, it's easy to find my decimal point right there between the 3 and the 1. So we need to take that decimal point and we're going to move it in order to convert it to a decimal. And I would move it, in fact, to the left 2 times. So if I do that here with my marker, 1, 2 times to the left, hopefully we can see then, this is not the best marker, but you can hopefully see it. 13.1% becomes 0.131 or 131 thousandths. Same thing with 20%. Now there's no decimal there, but I know there's an invisible decimal point at the end of every number. So I'm going to go ahead and put that decimal point in there. And again, I'm moving it to the left 2 times. 1, 2. That means that this is going to be equal to 0.20 or 20 hundredths, or I could just simplify that down and just say that it's 2 tenths, because I don't really need that 0 at the end. And then I have a number like 4%. Again, there's no decimal, but I can put it in right there. I'd move it over 2 times to the left. And as you look at this, if my thumb isn't in the way, you'd see that I actually can fill in a 0 here in this blank space. So I want to keep my placeholder in there. So this 4% is actually not equal to 40, but it's actually equal to 0.04 or 4 hundredths. Alright, so converting a percent to a decimal, the key here is moving to the left. So this is actually Beyonce's favorite type of conversion. She likes to move it to the left, and that's what she does every single time. So if we know how to convert a percent to a decimal, it makes sense then that converting a decimal to a percent, we're just doing the opposite. So think about Beyonce. She went to the left. Now we're doing the opposite. She's going to go to the right, and that's what we're going to do here. So our decimal point is here. I can just move that to the right, 2 spaces, and that means my percent here is going to be 3%. Again, all I did is I moved my decimal over. I could have said 0.3%, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Here I have 3.1. I need to move it to the right, move it over 2 spaces. I come up with 310%. Okay, and that should make sense to you because 3 is a whole number. It's bigger than a fraction, right? And so I'm going to have more than 100%. Same thing with here with number 5. Okay, 5 has a decimal point here at the end. We don't usually write it, but it's there. Okay, if I move that decimal point to the right, I'm going to come up with 500%. And again, I might have to fill in some zeros here, just like I did up here. Okay, so that's converting a decimal to a percent. So here, 2 spaces to the right. Okay, it's just opposite if I'm going percent to a decimal. Alright, so I think that's not too bad, right? Well, now we get into maybe a trickier area, and that is converting fractions to decimals and then percents. So a fraction into a percent. If we have a number like 1/10, this might not be too bad for us to do, because I know that a percent is any number over 100. If I have 1/10, I could multiply this by 10, get my bottom number to be 100, and that would be 10 over 100. My percent would be 10%. Okay, another way I could do this is I could think 1/10. I'm saying it 1/10, and when I say 1/10, I'm thinking 1 and the tenths place. So I know that 1/10 is actually 1/10, 0.1. As a percent, I can move my decimal to the right, and I come up with my percent of 10%. All right, so either way you want to do that, if I multiply this to get to 100, I know it'd be 10 over 100, 10%, or convert it to a decimal first, then to a percent. Okay, and that is a great way, that first method I shared with you to convert this to be 10 over 100. That's great, but it doesn't always work. For example, here, I have 12 25ths, okay? Maybe we could think 25 times 4, right? And then 12 times 4, that's going to be convenient for us. But maybe we're not going to have something that's quite so convenient all the time. Okay, in this example with method 1, 25 times 4 is 100. 12 times 4, let's see, that would be 48. So I come up with 48%. If I didn't know that, I could use another method, and that is division. If I have 12 over 25, let's see here, I've got my workspace here. So I could take 12 divided by 25. That would look like this. 12 divided by 25. Okay, right away you're thinking 25 doesn't go into 12, that can't work. Well, it can, because I can add a decimal point and a 0. And that decimal point floats up to the top of my bar. So now I think 12 goes into 120. Well, I think it's going to be 4 times. 4 times 25 is 100. I can subtract and get 20. Okay, I'm not done yet because I've got a remainder and I can't have a remainder with decimals. So I add another 0 and bring it down. That now is 200. 25 goes into 200 8 times. And then 8 times 25 is 200. So I have a remainder now of 0, so I know I'm done. My 8 didn't really show up here, but I know that's going to be 48 hundredths, or 0.48. So going back over here, I know then that 12 over 25 is equal to 48 hundredths, 0.48. If I know that's true, I can convert this to a percentage by just taking my decimal point and moving to the right, and when I move to the right, I get 48%. Now that's odd, or maybe not so odd, because that's the same number I got before if I just multiplied 25 times 4 and 12 times 4. Alright, so a lot of ways that we can practice this, and we now hopefully know how to convert fractions, decimals, and percents. It's all about moving your decimal point. I'm Mr. Regener, this is the Aftermath. Have a good time studying and preparing, and make sure that you can convert fractions, decimals, and percents.